Alright guys, welcome to Coin Academy. This is Nick Gomez bringing you a video pretty much explaining what an ICO really is. Now, I know there's a lot of cryptocurrency news all over the world being dropped about ICOs, and this is a video to pretty much give you the definition, an explanation, some comparison, so you could understand how powerful and disruptive it is what the ICOs or initial coin offerings are doing in the cryptocurrency and even in the investing space. So what is an ICO? So it stands for initial coin offering, and by definition it actually means an unregulated means by which funds are raised for a new cryptocurrency venture. So an ICO is used by startups to bypass the difficult and regulated capital raising process required by venture capitalists or banks. So to make it short and very simple, an ICO campaign pretty much it is a startup company in the blockchain space, and what they do is they raise capital through via payments of Bitcoin or Ethereum, or in some cases fiat. And what these startups and these ICOs do is, in exchange, they give the investor tokens. Okay, now in short terms, they're raising capital for a startup in exchange for tokens to fund their idea or project. So these startups, let's say for example, they come out of the Silicon Valley and they're looking for capital. When it comes to raising capital, for a startup, originally, in the IPO stage, for example, or even when you start looking for investors, you're giving a little piece of your company to every single investor, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20%. You're giving shares and equity of your company. Here, being an ICO, you do not. All you are giving in exchange for capital through crypto is tokens to the investor. So ICOs create a document, and pretty much what this document is called, it's on their website, and it's called a white paper. And in this white paper, it details everything about the company, their team, their advisors, their solution to the problem that they see in the space, and their full plan for the years to come. Here you will also see their token metrics. You'll also see their hard cap, their soft cap, and how much money they are planning to raise. Now, a lot of people compare ICOs to IPOs, crowdfunding, Kickstarter, GoFundMe, and what an ICO really is the best of both worlds. So I'm going to be showing you and comparing and some similarities, a little differences as well to an IPO, and at the same time, a crowd sale. But keep in mind what an ICO is. It's the earliest opportunity to really invest in a cryptocurrency. All right, you are pretty much picking up these tokens at a ground floor level before everybody knows about this specific cryptocurrency and before it even has landed in an exchange where it is now tradable. You are investing and having the opportunity to get this token at pretty much the cheapest price possible. Now, some examples of ICOs are Ethereum. Ethereum was actually 31 cents at its ICO stage. If you guys did not know that, Stratus, another very popular altcoin, was at 0.007 cents, all right, in its ICO stage. And Neo, which was originally AntShares, but it got rebranded to Neo, so AntShares in its ICO stage was 3.2 cents. Now, if you start thinking about that and see the prices of some of these coins right now, for example, Ethereum at now $1,000, well over Stratus at over $12, Neo well over 125, and I'm just naming these prices currently right now in today's date. You guys are seeing the growth and the possible gains when it comes to an ICO. So there's a great opportunity to get in early, but at the same time, there is a lot of risk. That being is because there's almost 30 to 40 to even 50 new ICOs coming out every other day. The market of cryptocurrency is evolving, and now we have close to almost 1,500 different coins and tokens all around the space. And I'm going to actually be showing you guys a website called ICO Stats, so you guys could see the type of ROI you would have seen if you would have invested, okay, into these ICOs of these very popular coins. So if we go over here and we go to ICO stats, you guys could see that ROI since ICO. So since they launched and were able to take investors, and keep in mind, when an ICO, anybody around the world can invest into these ICOs. If we look at Ethereum, okay, their ICO price was 31 cents. It's now sitting at well over $1,000. I mean, we're talking about a 333,000% ROI. Wow. I mean, let's look at Neo. Neo, 3.2 cents. Now the coin is sitting at $135. Over 425,000% in return on investments. I mean, I'm talking about wealth creation, and this is what's disrupting the investment and the venture capitalist space all over the world, and now how pretty much all these startups are not only able to raise capital and build their platform and prototype and their token to fruition, but this gives an opportunity to investors to be able to capitalize off these future projects, and by being the early backers, they are able to get these tokens at an early price in hope that in the future they will be worth tenfold and they will see a very good return on investment. Now, most people compare ICOs to IPOs, but I'm not going to say they are exactly the same. If you don't know what an IPO is and it just went right over your head, look, an IPO is when a privately held company becomes publicly traded by offering its shares to the public for the first time. All right. Typically, these companies, once they're ready for IPOs, are actually a private company, okay, and they have a proven track record with over 7 figures in annual sales, right? Now, why is the reason that these companies decide to go public? Well, they actually want to raise capital so they could reach their hyper growth, and it takes obviously money to make more money, but raising these capitals on these IPOs are a great way for them to take their business to the next level. Now, the difference with IPOs and ICOs is when you are an investor and you invest on an IPO or, for example, a stock, you are getting shares of a company. You are getting equity of a company. You are getting dividends of that company. See, that is the very big difference from an ICO. In ICOs, you do not get shares or dividends or equity of the company. You are simply getting tokens. But this is what has completely disrupted, the world when it comes to investing, thanks to the ICO. And the difference being when an IPO is, I'm going to give you guys an example of Facebook or Snapchat, all right? Pre-IPO, meaning before they went public, when they were in the works and they were deciding to pretty much launch as an IPO, they were a privately held company, and certain individuals, whether the owner, the executives, friends and family, certain investors, had stake or equity in the company. Now, they also took angel investors and venture capitalists to invest in their company before they went public. Now, what does that mean? They were able to invest and buy shares. For example, Snapchat, they were able to get Snapchat shares pre-IPO at pennies on the dollar. All right, pennies on the dollar. For their first couple rounds of evaluation, I mean, I'm talking about Series A1 investors who, just so you guys know, to be these type of individuals and to be accredited, you need to be worth millions of dollars and earn a certain amount of income every single year and prove that you're an accredited investor and not only be in their community but be accepted. So it is a very hard community to be a part of, and obviously you need the capital. But for those individuals that are very wealthy and able to invest, they get these shares, for example, of Snapchat at pennies on the dollar. Now, that is mind-blowing because when the IPO finally released of Snapchat, people were running, throwing their money at $17 a share, while early investors were able to get it at pennies on the dollar. That is mind-blowing. And that is the concept that an ICO gives you. Just the power of the ICO is you don't have to be accredited. You could be anywhere around the world and you are able to invest in these projects. Because keep in mind, an ICO is a fundraising tool used by startups working on a new blockchain project or projects, right? So all we're doing is funding the project in its development stages. For example, Ethereum, they raised their capital to even launch their prototype, and then off we see the Ethereum of today. So ICOs, on the contrary, are conducted on a decentralized platform and are not even restricted by international borders. So keep in mind, we are in a deregulated space, a decentralized space, a peer-to-peer space where it is very different and there is not many regulations when it comes to ICOs. Keep in mind, when launching an IPO and going public for a company, they have to do over 6 months of filing with the SEC. They have to meet with their lawyers. It is a very long process to get this all to follow through. While an ICO is as simple as a website, a white paper, conducting a video and an idea, and pretty much raising capital. Now, when it comes to an IPO versus an ICO, all these early investors in the pre-IPO, talking about years back before, for example, Snapchat, when these individuals got in at a couple pennies a share, they have to wait on what's called a lockout period, or they have to wait for enough liquidity for them to be able to sell and dump their shares so they could cash out in the markets. While in the ICO, it's very different. It's a lot faster. It does not take 6 months. Sometimes it takes weeks, maybe just a month. And an ICO can actually be released, okay, to an exchange where there you could sell your tokens for Bitcoin, for fiat, all right, and pretty much get your return on investment, or decide to hold that token because you believe long term that project will be the next Ethereum, will be the next Stratus, will be the next Neo. So understand the difference. Now, you can't always forget what crowdfunding is. And ICO also brought the best of both worlds, like I was talking about. Now, what is crowdfunding? I mean, we talk about Kickstarter, we talk about crowdfunding, we talk about GoFunding, and pretty much, ICOs are oftenly compared to crowdfunding, all right, or crowd investing on the blockchain. As opposed to crowdfunding, where the investment is considered to be a donation, ICOs give the supporters the possibility of a return of investment when selling the token at a later date for a higher price. Okay, so ICOs could be seen as a mix between a donation, investment, or risk capital. So understanding crowdfunding, if you see it on Facebook, on ads, on the internet, all over, they're using the social media, they're using the online web to pretty much scale their project. And what crowdfunding really is they get very bits of little pieces of investors and investments by thousands of thousands of thousands of thousands of people all over the world contributing. But little do you know, there's even a cap to that. If you want to invest more or you want to donate more, you would have to be labeled as an accredited investor. Okay, so keep in mind that ICO brought the social media, the community, all right, the ability to raise money all over the world from thousands of people, and pretty much bring in those same qualities that a crowdfunding or a Kickstarter does, just like, all right, an ICO now does. So they bring the best of both worlds. I'm talking about IPOs, crowdfunding, and that's what an ICO is. So keep in mind that there has been a history of ICOs. I mean, we're talking about just in 2017, all right? They raised in total over close to $3 billion were raised, all right? And through about 200 different startups. I mean, one of the first ICOs, like we talked about, Ethereum raised about 18.4 million in 2014 worth of Bitcoin at that time. And what's crazy is the cryptocurrency market continues to evolve. And if you actually go to coinmarketcap.com, you see that the Bitcoin dominance has been dropping from 60 to 50 to 40 to even 30%. That being because all of these new ICOs and tokens are now gaining popularity and use. I mean, more than 20 coins that were formed via ICOs now have a market cap in excess of $1 billion, according to CoinMarketCap. I mean, that is a significance, appreciation in price. So 2018 will be bringing a lot more ICOs, but keep in mind there is a lot of risk. All right, most projects do not have a proven business model, and in most of these cases, not even a ready product or prototype. I mean, ICOs are not restricted by geographical borders. In this case, of the issuer, for example, if the company, the startup that we invest and we send Bitcoin and Ethereum disappears, there is nobody we could come to for legal actions or help. So if you have plans to invest in ICOs, understand that these are high risk investments with little or no guarantees. Keep in mind, it's not like an IPO that are monitored by regulatory bodies. ICOs neither follow any regulatory requirements nor it is easy to regulate them. ICOs do not fall under any particular geographic location, making it a challenge to regulate them. So please understand there is a lot of risk when it comes to ICOs, but if you do the correct research, you do your due diligence, you check the white paper, you see who the CEO and his track record, you see that an ICO has a proven track record as a company before they have been in the blockchain. You check their advisors, you see their token metrics, you see their market cap, how much money they're raising. And if you start to understand and learn how to do the correct research, there is a lot of gains to be made in the market. And that's what we will be showing you here with Coin Academy and iMarkets Live TV, showing you how to do the proper research in these ICOs so you could be safe, find the correct coin, the correct team that will create a solution in the market, solve a problem, and be a market taker, meaning that they are innovative. They are a solution, and these individuals are different. So these ICOs, the ones that really take off, I mean, if we go to coinmarketcap.com and you guys really get an idea, most of these are ICOs. I mean, Ripple was one of its first ICOs. You guys didn't know that. I mean, we're talking about a lot of these coins are now sitting at the top 50 on CoinMarketCap, and they were all ICOs. NEO was an ICO, EOS was an ICO, and you could start seeing some of these results, you know, and these ROIs that some of these ICOs really gave in return. I mean, ridiculous amount of numbers. I mean, ARK, Lisk, Qtum, I mean, all of the Omisego, I mean, these are returns that you were able to see, but like there are a lot of winners, there are even more losers. They are said that almost close to 99% of these ICOs never follow through or never even get into fruition of their idea or their project. So like we said, be very careful where you invest. Keep in mind there is a lot of risk in this market, especially in the ICO being deregulated and pretty much the type of investment it is. So this is pretty much what is an ICO, a little comparisons to IPO, crowdfunding, and in conclusion, do your research. We are here to help as an academy to make sure that you guys understand what an ICO is so you guys can make the right picks and get the right investment. You all take care.